Hare Krishna, we continue reading from Isopanishad today. We are on mantra 12. So the mantra 12 is Andam tamaha pravishante ye sambhutim apasate tato bhuya ivate tamo ya yu sambhutyam rataha. Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more, so do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute. So Sri Isopanishad is saying that those who are worshipping the demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance because they're not able to understand what's the truth. And more also are the worshippers who think that the absolute truth is Brahman, is impersonal, is only light. So we continue to read from the purport. Sri Isopanishad points out that one who worships the demigods and attains to their material planets still remains in the darkest region of the universe. So why Isopanishad is saying that if you worship the demigods, you're still in ignorance? Because even the planets of the demigods are in this material world, in this material manifestation. The whole universe is covered by the gigantic material elements. It is just like a coconut covered by a shell and half filled with water. So we know a coconut. Coconut has a hard shell, and inside the coconut, half of the coconut is water. Similarly, this material universe is like that. Half of the universe is filled with the Garbhodaka ocean. Half of this is filled, but this universe, there's a covering, there's this hard shell there, nobody can just get out of this universe just like that. So since its covering is airtight, the darkness within is dense, and therefore the sun and moon are required for illumination. So this hard shell, the universe is covered, these coverings are there, it's compact, and because it's compact, it's dark. Light cannot come inside. Outside is the Brahma Jyoti, the Brahma effulgence is there, but inside the universe, there is no light because of this covering. So then that's the reason we need the moon and the sun inside the universe. If we didn't have it, it's very dark here in this material world that we are so attached to. We are attached to this place of darkness. Outside the universe is the vast and unlimited Brahma Jyotir expansion, which is filled with the Vaikuntha lokas. So this whole material cosmic manifestation is there, right? Material world, there are these universes like coconuts, and then the space is all dark here. But once we come out of this material manifestation, what is there? The space over there is all bright. You know how we see here the space, when we come out of the earth, the space is all black, right? Because it's still within this material universe. But as soon as we come out of the material universe, the space there is all light, all bright. That's the Brahma Jyoti. And then the Brahma Jyoti, right? Unlimited, vast. And what's there in the Brahma Jyoti? There are these Vaikuntha planets, Vaikuntha lokas. The biggest and highest planet in the Brahma Jyoti is Krishna Lok or Golok Vrindavan, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna himself resides. So in this, the divine light, what people call the Brahman effulgence, the expansion, it's vast, it's unlimited. That's called the spiritual sky. That is the spiritual sky. And what's in the spiritual sky? There are spiritual planets, the Vaikuntha planets, and the planets. And so the highest, the topmost planet in the spiritual sky, the biggest planet in the spiritual sky is called Krishna Lok or Golok Vrindavan. And who's living there? Krishna himself. That's his planet. He lives there himself eternally. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that's his address. We have our own postal addresses. We have whatever address where we live, our place of residence. So what is Krishna's permanent residence? That's Golok Vrindavan, Krishna Lok. Lord Shri Krishna never leaves Krishna Lok. although he dwells there with his eternal associates. He is omnipresent throughout the material, throughout the complete material and spiritual cosmic manifestations. This fact has already been explained in Mantra 4. The Lord is present everywhere, just like the sun, yet he is situated in one place, just as the sun is situated in its own undeviating orbit. So Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. He always is there in Golok Vrindavan, never leaves Krishna Lok. But he's omnipresent, omnipresent. How? He has these various expansions. He is there as Lord Vishnu in the Vaikuntha planets. Here in this material world, he's as the Paramatma. You know, he's everywhere. The example is given that the sun is there in one place, but because of his energy, the sunshine is everywhere, right? So we see the sun is there everywhere. So Krishna, by his energies, he's omnipresent. Krishna, you see, many people make the mistake of negating Krishna's these super excellent energies which he has. No? But if we understand Krishna along with his energies, everything makes sense. So that's how he's omnipresent. He's present everywhere. Just as the sun is present everywhere by his sunshine. The problems of life cannot be solved simply by going to the moon planet or to some other planet above or below it. So if we think that we go to the moon planet and we don't need to become old or we don't need to die, then we are mistaken, because miseries of this material world exist in all the planets from Patala Loka to Brahma Loka. Therefore, Isopanishad advises us not to bother with any destination within this dark material universe, but to try to get out of it and reach the effulgent kingdom of God. So Isopanishad is saying, don't just make your goal to go to a higher planet, which is still in this material world. Don't do that. Make your goal to enter into a spiritual planet, which is in the spiritual sky, effulgent kingdom of God. Why is it called effulgent kingdom of God? Because the Brahma Jyoti is there everywhere. It's bright. It's bright and shining everywhere there. There are many pseudo worshippers who become religionists only for the sake of name and fame. Such pseudo religionists do not wish to get out of this universe and reach the spiritual sky. They only want to maintain the status quo in the material world under the garb of worshipping the Lord. So there are some people who pseudo worshippers. Why they're called pseudo worshippers? Because they're pretending that they are attached to Krishna. They are pretending that they understand the absolute truth. But what do they want actually? They just want name, fame, worship, adoration. Name, fame, worship, adoration. They don't want to get out of the universe. They want to feel great. So they're not going to get out of this universe. They're not going to go to the Vaikuntha planet. They just want to remain here in the material world. And they'll pretend that they're worshiping the Lord. And in that way, what do they get? They get the adoration and worship. People say, oh, such a religious person. Oh, see, he's so good. Oh, she's so good, so renowned, so knowledgeable, so religious. But then that's what they're looking for. They just want name and fame. So that's what they get, name and fame. But they still remain in the material world. So what use is that? Once you give up the body, where is all the name and fame going to go? Then you never, like this life, maybe we are put to the position of like a very famous person, most famous person on the earth, but the next life we might be a dog. Nobody cares about us. So then we have to see, what do we want? What's our intention? The atheist and impersonalist lead such foolish pseudo-religionists into the darkest regions by preaching the cult of atheism. The atheist directly denies the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the impersonalist supports the atheist by stressing the impersonal aspect of the Supreme Lord. So the atheists, they say, okay, there is no God. I don't believe in God. There's no God. So immediately, what do you say? Rejecting the existence of God. That's why they're called atheists. And then why impersonalist is called covered atheism? Impersonalism is called covered atheism because they are not willing to accept that God is a person. So indirectly, they are also saying there's no God. They're not accepting God who he is. That's why impersonalists are also called atheists, although not directly, but they're covered atheists. The intention is still atheism. The intention is still atheism, to reject the person, to reject Krishna as he is, the supreme person as he is. And just say no form, he has no form. So means no form, means I have a form, so I'm greater than God, you know. And I'm God and you are God and everyone's God. So if everyone's God, then what about the real God? So that's why impersonalism is covered atheism. They just package it in a different, in like a beautiful package, but inside is the same thing. So thus far, we have not come across any mantra in Sri Isopanishad in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead is denied. So Sri Isopanishad is saying that that God is a person is not denied. It's not saying that, oh, God is not a person. In fact, what is said? It is said that he can run faster than anyone. He said that he can win over all running. So if he can run faster with anyone, then, he's a person, right? He can run faster. So who is this he? He's a person. He's a, like we say he, she. So God is a person. Those who are running after other planets are certainly persons. And if the Lord can run faster than all of them, how can he be impersonal? The impersonal conception of the Supreme Lord is another form of ignorance arising from an imperfect conception of the absolute truth. So now what is Sri Isopanishad saying? That if you think God is light, it is ignorance, because it is clearly stated that he is a person, that he's not impersonal. And why is it coming? It's coming from an imperfect conception of the absolute truth, not understanding the absolute truth as he is. Okay. So the ignorant pseudo-religionists and the manufacturers of so-called incarnations who directly violate the Vedic injunctions are liable to enter into the darkest region of the universe because they mislead those who follow them. We can see it's such a, just to get a little bit of name, fame, worship, adoration from people so that people think I'm so great, I'm so good. What's going to happen if we cheat people in their faith? What's going to happen? The ignorant pseudo-religionists, people pretending to be religionists, pretending to understand what's religion, but all they want is just people to worship them, to glorify them, to say, oh, this person is so great. And manufacturers of so-called incarnations, just thinking this one is an incarnation, declaring that one is an incarnation without understanding who is really an incarnation, just putting up an ordinary living entity, an ordinary person as an incarnation. Now, because they are directly violating the Vedic injunctions, where will they go? What's their destination? They go to the darkest region of the universe, means into the hellish planets where the sunlight doesn't reach. Why? Because they're misleading others. They're misleading others. Otherwise, this person could have utilized his time trying to actually understand what the absolute truth is and engaged in the bhakti and made this life the last life and gotten out of the material universe and gone to the spiritual world. But because they are being misled, so their time got wasted. And then, this human form got wasted. And in another life, maybe they don't get a human body, maybe they're animals, and then they cannot get out of this universe. So then what happens? So that's the reason these leaders, so-called leaders, are put in hellish planets. These impersonalists generally pose themselves as incarnations of God to foolish persons who have no knowledge of Vedic wisdom. If such foolish men have any knowledge at all, it is more dangerous in their hands than ignorance itself. Now, so there are people who say, I'm God, you're God, we are all incarnations of God. But why they're called foolish? They're called foolish because they do not have the true knowledge. So when we don't have true knowledge, then we are called foolish. And because we are truly foolish, we do not have the intelligence, we get a little knowledge, we try to misinterpret it. We try to misguide others with that. So it's better than don't have any knowledge, instead of getting a little bit of knowledge and building a whole lie based on that tiny knowledge, and then misleading and misguiding so many other people. So such impersonalists do not even worship the demigods according to the scriptural recommendations. In the scriptures, there are recommendations for worshiping demigods under certain circumstances. But at the same time, these scriptures state that there is normally no need for this. So these impersonalists who are saying, oh, everyone is one, everything is same, all is God, and you are God, I'm God. But that's not the one. They're not even properly worshiping the demigods as the demigod needs to be worshipped. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.23, it is clearly stated that the results derived from worshiping the demigods are not permanent. Since the entire material universe is impermanent, whatever is achieved within the darkness of material existence is also impermanent. The question is how to obtain real and permanent life. So what Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that even if you reach to the demigods' planets, you worship the demigods, you'll get some riches, you'll get some opulence, you'll get some pious punya karma. But those results are very temporary. The results will finish. Then after the results finish, then again you're back to square one. Because this material world is temporary. So then now the question is raised, how to obtain real and permanent life? Real and permanent. Because if it's temporary, it means it's not real. It's not the truth. If it's temporary, then it's only relative truth. It's not absolute truth. So we need to discover what's the truth, what is really permanent. The Lord states that as soon as one reaches him by devotional service, which is the one and only way to approach the personality of Godhead, one attains complete freedom from the bondage of birth and death. In other words, the path of salvation from the material clutches fully depends on the principles of knowledge and detachment gained from serving the Lord. So now the only way to obtain real and permanent life, the only way that we can completely get free from this bondage of birth and death, the only way that we can actually get liberated, actually get mukti, moksha, factually, Krishna says, is only by devotional service. The Lord said, he's saying that. How you can come to permanent, how you can come to me. Engage in bhakti. He's saying it. We just have to follow it. And then what happens when we engage in bhakti? We get the true knowledge and the true detachment. Not this artificial, what people call gyan. No, that just makes the heart hard, a heart hard. That is not complete knowledge. That is not true detachment. The true detachment comes when we engage in devotional service, when we engage in bhakti, which begins by hearing and chanting. That's the only way. There's no other way. And that's the reason it's repeated 3 times. There's no other way, no other way, no other way in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, rather than chanting the holy names of the Lord Hari. So the pseudo-religionists have neither knowledge nor detachment from material affairs. For most of them want to live in the golden shackles of material bondage under the shadow of philanthropic activities disguised as religious principles. So here, what is the true intention of the pseudo-religionists who want to pretend that I'm such a religionist person, that I'm so detached, I have so much knowledge. But actually, what's their position? They have no knowledge. They do not have the true knowledge, nor are they really detached. What do they want? They want to continue live in this material world and pretend and show people that I'm such a great philanthropist. I'm so religious. But what's going to happen? By a false display of religious sentiments, they present a show of devotional service while indulging in all sorts of immoral activities. In this way, they pass as spiritual masters and devotees of God. You know, so by just falsely pretending and showing to the people that I'm so religionist, I have so much knowledge, I'm so detached, I'm way up there. But what are we going to get out of this? We're going to still continue living in this material world. And in fact, by misguiding others, we are going to go to the hellish planets in our next life. So this is for us to understand that we ourselves should not do it, and we should not follow the people who are doing it. We should try to understand what is good for me. Krishna is saying, just do bhakti. You will automatically get knowledge and true detachment if you engage in bhakti. Bhakti begins by hearing and chanting. True knowledge is trying to understand Bhagavad Gita from a devotee. True knowledge is hearing and chanting from Srimad Bhagavatam from a devotee. That is what true knowledge is. So in this, such violators of religious principles have no respect for the authoritative acharyas, the holy teachers, in the strict disciplic succession. They ignore the Vedic injunction, acharyopasana. One must worship the acharya. So the pseudo-religionists, the violators of religious principles, they're called violators because what is true religion? True religion means to love God. To love God is true religion, not to, by some word jugglery, try to misguide people and pretend that I have so much knowledge, or, And what does religious principle say? Acharyopasana, Vedic injunction. One must worship the Acharya. Krishna says that in Bhagavatam. The devotees are so kind to me. One can approach me only by through my devotee. One who is my devotee is not really my devotee, but one who is the devotee of my devotee is my devotee. So why has Krishna put it that way? Just so that we do not, by our mental speculation, imagination, pretend and make up things. Just so that we actually follow the true teachers and really make a permanent solution, really get liberation. That's the reason Krishna has made it this way. He's saying, follow the teachers who know how to get out of this material world. And Krishna's statement in the Bhagavad Gita 4.2, Evam Parampara Praptam, the supreme science of God is received through the disciplic succession. Instead, to mislead the people in general, they themselves become so-called acharyas, but they do not even follow the principles of the acharyas. Yeah, so there are many people, they say, yes, I'm an acharya. But are you following the principle? Are you following what's mentioned in the scriptures, how an acharya should behave? What is the qualification of an acharya? So Sri Isopanishad is giving us so detailed knowledge so that we don't do such things and we do not follow such things. These rogues are the most dangerous elements in human society because there is no religious government. They escape punishment by the law of the state. They cannot, however, escape the law of the Supreme, who has clearly declared in the Bhagavad Gita that envious demons in the garb of religious propagandists shall be thrown into the darkest regions of hell. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, text 19 to 20. So there are so many so-called religious leaders, so many acharyas, gurus, follow me, I know the way, I'm the true one, I'm incarnation of God, I know everything, I'm so renounced, I have so much knowledge, I can give you liberation, I can give you mukti, there's so many, everywhere there is this noises going on. Why? Because there's no religious government. Srila Prabhupada puts it very nicely. There's no religious government who can govern. Hey, what you're doing is wrong. What you're teaching is wrong. There's no authority doing that. But these people cannot escape the law of nature, the law of the Supreme Lord. They cannot. Krishna is saying that such people are going to be put in hellish planets, darkest regions of hell. Envious demons in the garb of religious propagandists. So it's such a dangerous thing to do. Sri Isopanishad confirms that these pseudo-religionists are heading toward the most obnoxious place in the universe after the completion of their spiritual master business, which they conduct simply for sense gratification. So many people, they say, I'm Acharya, I'm Guru, I'm great, I'm incarnation of God, God came to me, I meditated, I became God, I am God, all these different titles. But all they want is sense gratification. And after they give up the body, where they're going to go? In hell. Why? Because they're not truly following the principles. They're not teaching people what the truth is. In fact, they're misleading and misguiding the people, misguiding the innocent person's faith, making that otherwise a person could have made this life the last life, but instead they have to continue living here longer in the material world. So, and then the followers of such people also will follow, they also will end up going to this darkest region of hell, because Krishna says, whoever you worship, that's where you're going to go. So if we worship like these people, that's where we are going to go. He says, whoever you worship, that's where you go. You worship evil spirits, you'll go in the planet of evil spirits. You worship the Pitras, you're going to go to the planet of Pitras. If you worship the demigods, you will enter into the planet of demigods. So if we worship such pseudo-religionists, pretenders who are pretending to be Acharya or spiritual master or God or incarnation of God, we are going to go together with them in the darkest region of the universe. So Sri Isopanishad is warning us of this. Is that okay?
Yes.
Any comments or questions? And we see this is so much going on all over the world, all over the world. There are so many people who pretend to be true, but they're just misguiding the innocent. Misguiding.
Yeah, it is sad.
Yeah. And here, so we need to follow the instruction of Sri Isopanishad. And then again, so much more grateful to Srila Prabhupada for translating these scriptures, giving us these scriptures as they are in a language that we understand.
Yeah, so at least by reading, we can just try to understand who the real Acharya is. We can just try, like maybe not sure, but
yeah, we can try to understand.
yeah.
And this is how we are, in our intelligence is being purified. We are becoming intelligent.
Yes.
And then, yeah, we have to do that, because it's, after all, it's us. Where am I going in the next life?
Mm-hmm.
So it's our responsibility, nobody else's responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we need to understand this ourselves, and we need to give this knowledge to others, so the others can also not be misguided. Make the
So that
knowledge
we need to
available to
share.
others, give them the
Yeah.
share the
Okay.
books with them, to save them. So we'll stop. Of course, we can't go up to a person and say, hey, you know what you're doing, going to the darkest region of hell. No, we can't say such things. They'll say, what do you mean? You are going to hell, not me. We always have to. Madhyam Adhikari, he's a preacher, but he gives knowledge to the innocent, and he stays away from the atheists. Because he understands it's not their time as yet. It's not the desire as yet, and they might instead start committing offenses, which is not good for them. So then, but he gives mercy to the innocent.
Yeah.
So we'll stop here for today.
Okay.
Did you want to add anything else?
No, it's all good.
Thank you so much for joining in today. Thank you so much for listening. Shri Isopanishad ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.